Okay, so we are recording this athletics and college admissions, and we will send you the recording and the webinar slides tomorrow. So you'll have those. You don't have to take too many notes. You can just sit back, relax, and listen. And I think that's it. And with that,
Okay.
I will pass that to you, Mike.
Oop.
Oh, I guess I'll just
Oh,
tell you a
oh,
little bit about
there
MEFA
you go.
if you don't know. So MEFA has been around since 1982, and our mission is to help families plan, save, and pay for college. And we're still doing that today. We have the state's college savings plans, the U Plan and the U Fund, and we also have low-cost loans if families need that type of financing for college. But everything else we do is all around free guidance at whatever stage you're at in the college admissions process. So, or we help you with financial aid and scholarships and how you're going to pay the college bill. So please stay in touch with us throughout the process, and you can always call us with quick questions or for longer conversations. So with that, I'll pass it to you, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Julie. Hi, everybody. I should say hello, friends. So what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of what college athletics is, defining the different governing boards, how high school students develop eligibility, maintain eligibility. And then I'm sure the last piece will be kind of what everyone is all wondering about is how does the student athlete go about the search process? How is it different from just the run-of-the-mill college search? First and foremost, one of the things that I do want to point out, just be aware, only 2% of high school athletes are ever offered athletic scholarships of anything. I don't mean like full ride. I mean any like $1, any piece. Just 2% of high school athletes are offered athletic scholarships. So, I've been on more than my fair share of sidelines of, youth, high school, college games, courts, everything. And I hear a lot of conversations of, oh, my kid did this and my kid did that. Just be aware that it really is a small percentage of athletes that are offered any type of athletic scholarship whatsoever. I don't mean to point that out as poo-pooing the idea, but just putting the reality of the situation. So let's just dive right into it. NCAA. We'll start here because that's the one that everyone knows, is most familiar with. National Collegiate Athletic Association. This is this is March Madness. This is college football, as we all know. Almost 500,000 student athletes, 3 divisions. And just to point out, those 3 divisions, Division 1, 2, and 3, are not based on school size. You can have, rather large Division 3 schools and rather small Division 1 schools. It's really determined by the facilities on campus, the resources, aka money, allocated to the programs. It is possible to have a Division 1 hockey program and Division 2 everything else. So there is some fluidity amongst that. And upwards of 40 different sports, everything from, like I said, the football, basketball, all the way down to archery, rifle, and even some emerging sports, equestrian, so there's a number of different sports involved. So again, just to break down a little bit between what Division 1, 2, and 3 really is. In terms of what to expect as a student athlete. And let me pause a second there because I've already used the word a couple times and I want to reiterate the emphasis on student. You're always a student first. It's always a student athlete. Okay. You are no good to your teammates. You are no good to your coach. You are not even eligible to participate if you are not a student first. So first and foremost, take care of grades, take care of classes. That's why you're in college. That's why you're in school. That, 2% of high school athletes get a scholarship. Well, that's percentage points of how many go on to be pro. So you are going to need that college degree. So the emphasis is always on student athlete. At the Division I level, really consider your participation. And it doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, track, archery, rifle, whatever. It's a full-time job. Okay. The time commitment is substantial. Not just games and practices, but film study, team meetings, travel. Depending on the conference you're in, you could literally be traveling cross country. It is a substantial amount of time, and really considered a full-time job. There are most scholarships are in basketball and football. Not all full scholarship, full rides. So just kind of be aware there. Division II, larger emphasis is again having the student on campus in the classroom. Not as much time, but still a substantial amount of time involved. And for the most part, conferences are more regionalized. So you don't have anything such as, the Big Ten, where you're, literally going coast to coast, or, what's left of the Pac-12 and going up and down the West Coast. So it's much less travel, but still a substantial amount of time. And then Division III, your shorter practice season, competition seasons are shorter. The coaches understand the nature of the beast of where they're at. And so it is much less responsibility, or expectation, I should say, placed on a student athlete at D3 level. Don't get hung up that one is better than the other. There certainly are Division II programs that facilities are, mind-blowing of what is available on campus. Way better than some Division I programs. Same thing for Division III. Division III programs can have facilities and opportunities available that are way better than Division II or even I programs. Don't get hung up that just because it's D1 that it's the best. You can have, literally Hall of Fame professional athletes coming out of D2, D3 programs. So one is not better than the others, just because. Okay. Other two athletic associations that are out there: National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. Most of these programs, and actually over the past, I don't know, through 5 years or so, I have seen a number of students, athletes from the area here going out west. The majority of the NAIA programs are in the Midwest Great Lakes region. That's kind of the predominant where the conferences lie. And I have seen over the past 5 years, like I say, a growing trend of students going out to NAIA schools. Think of them, to compare to the NCAA level, think of them more like a Division II. That type of resource, that type of expectation, that type of competition of what's out there. There's a good balance of academics and athletics on campus. The Junior College Athletic Association, this is going to be your, 2-year schools, your community colleges, that can be really a solid option if you need to increase your level of academics. You want a year of getting stronger and faster, getting better on the field. If you want to improve your academics, a JUCO participation might be something of interest to you. Let's talk a little bit about eligibility. and how you are, you know, what it takes to be a student athlete. Bottom line here is at the top, 2.3 or take a knee. If you do not have a 2.3 grade point average coming out of high school, that's eligibility. You need a 2.3, which is essentially a C plus, a 77. You need a 77 C plus 2.3 GPA to be eligible, academically eligible, to participate at the Division I level. And I say that as Division I, because I always tell students, shoot for the most difficult one and you're going to meet everything else. Okay. If you can get a 2.3 GPA, you're going to be eligible everywhere else. Okay. Division I, Division II in the brackets there, will be the classes that you must take. This is where you're not taking basket weaving and graduating with a gimme diploma. It's referred to as the 10-7 rule. You need to take 10 of your core classes. We'll talk about that in a slide here, before your 7th semester, meaning before your senior year. So 10 of your core classes, English, math, science, social studies, need to be taken before the start of your 7th semester. And again, that's the rule for Division I. Division II, that is not the case. That's a rule set for Division I. And again, my advice is always shoot for the most difficult one, and everything else is going to fall into place. Again, a 2.3 GPA in those 16 core classes, and a 2.2, so 76, 77 GPA for Division II. Okay. We'll go into next slide. We'll go into what the core classes are, what those 16 core are. SATs, ACT are no longer required, but just a quick word there. Just because the NCAA is not requiring the SATs, the school, the major that you might be looking at might still require it. So just because it's not required for the NCAA, you still may need a solid SAT, ACT score. Okay, so just be aware there. For Division III, essentially, your eligibility is dependent on successful completion of high school and being admitted to the institution. Again, shoot for that 2.3. That's the highest GPA required. But if you can be admitted to the institution, the Division III institution, that is establishing academic eligibility at that school. So we were just talking about the core classes. NCAA has set, you need 16 core classes, 4 years English, 3 math, 2 science, 1, any of those, 2 social studies, and then 4 years of kind of any elective that fits into those subject areas. The easiest way to kind of map this out is really just take one of those core classes every year of high school. English, math, science, social studies, all 4 years of high school, regardless of what your high school's graduation requirement is. I mean, that's just good academic advice. If you have 4 years of English, math, science, social studies, you're on a good track. Okay, you're on a good track. We talked about a 2.3 GPA. Keep in mind that pass-fail classes, if you're graded on a pass-fail basis for one of these classes and you pass, it is the equivalent of the lowest passing grade at your school. So typically it's a D. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you're taking a class on a pass-fail basis, it will be calculated by the NCAA into your GPA as a 1, okay? Yeah, as a D. So just be aware of how that works. Every high school, usually out of the guidance office, I've seen some schools where the athletic department takes care of it. But usually typically it's the guidance office, sometimes the athletics office, but every high school needs to submit their program of studies, course descriptions, all of that to the NCAA for their review that it is a legit college prep level class. You know, so that it is maintaining a level of rigor, a level of expectation, that it's just not, you know, simple arithmetic is your math class. You know, that there's a level of expectation that is handled. The NCAA maintains, you know, records on every high school and will then kind of establish that it's a legit class. So make sure that when you are registering for classes, you know, for really really this only falls that electives might not be the equivalent of an NCAA class. You know, for the most, you know, English 1, English 9, freshman year English, sophomore year English. Yes, those will most probably be you know, the equivalent of an NCAA class. Biology, chemistry, physics. Yes, those year-long math, science classes, absolutely. You know, but if you're taking an elective, just be aware, especially like a half-year elective, just be aware that, you know, just something to be cognizant of. Okay. Continuing with eligibility, the eligibility center, formerly known as the clearinghouse, last few years they've rebranded to the eligibility center. This is the front door to participating in NCAA athletics. You know, everybody that's in the recruiting process will need to register with the eligibility center. So this is an absolute for everybody. There are 3 different levels. The first one being just a simple profile page. It is a free account to open up. This will be used by Division III schools, and not Division II, but Division III schools. You'll need to have this profile page. I'll explain how they're used in just one second. And then the second level there is the academic and amateurism certification, which is that second level within the eligibility center. That's $100, and it will be used if you are thinking that you're being recruited by Division I or II schools. You'll need this academic and amateurism certification. The third part to the eligibility center is mostly for international students, students transferring from one university to another. So I don't think it's going to be anybody in this webinar. So really we'll just focus on parts 1 and 2 here. Easy online registration, you know, go to eligibilitycenter.org, put in your name, you know, some basic demographic, your high school, you know, where you're going to school, and you're good to go. They will send you an NCAA ID. This ID number will be used by all coaches because they will then need to kind of register that they're meeting with you with the NCAA. That's how the NCAA tracks that the whole process is legit and no one's skirting the system. that's how coaches on campus will know that your transcript has been submitted, and is cleared. That is your NCAA ID is the key to everything. You'll absolutely need that if you're going on an official visit, whether it is Division 1, 2, or 3. You'll need that ID for any of that. When the coach asks, you'll need to share that number with them. Okay. Just a couple other things on eligibility for NAIA schools, just because it is a little bit different. Um, um, GPA is a 2.0, but one thing to keep in mind that the unique part here is that students must graduate in the top half of their senior class, which is really kind of a unique standard that NAIA schools are looking for. You'll need a letter from your principal guidance office that they're in the top half of the senior class. And again, I haven't seen anything where the SATs or ACTs are still in place. So that is simply crossed off there and not deleted. So eligibility at junior colleges, simply, I mean, quite honestly, just to put it blunt, meet the entrance requirements of the school, graduate high school, and be admitted to the institution. You'll need to maintain your amateur status, but be admitted to the school, maintain academic standards of the school that you're admitted to, and you are eligible at the junior college level. Just a quick piece. I know this is kind of getting a couple years ahead of where everybody is, I believe, right now. If you're looking to transfer because that junior college option might be something that is, a possibility for you, just be aware that you're really going to work with both the school that you are at, the junior college you're at, or the first school you attend, and the athletic department of both schools. Maintain, again, emphasis on the student athlete. Maintain your grades all the way through, academic rigor all the way through, and then transferring to the next school will just simply be a lot easier. You can use that junior college as a kind of a somewhat post-grad year, if you're looking to improve your academic standing, improve your athletic standing a little bit, and then you'll just make that transfer process a little bit easier. Let me pause there before we get into the recruiting piece. Any questions?
Yeah, we have two people really asking us the same question, so that's good.
Okay.
When actually do you submit the eligibility form through the eligibility center?
You bet. So you should really, if you're thinking that you're going to be participating in college athletics, register sooner rather than later. Some students, will register as early as 8th grade. But if you're, I know for my own kids, they didn't register until their senior year. It wasn't as prevalent. It wasn't a strong possibility. And then once they realized, yeah, I'm kind of interested. And actually I've had students register as a freshman year in college, that when they get to school and they realize, you know what, yeah, I miss it, I want to play. And then they come back and register and go through the process. So sooner is better. Especially if you're just doing that profile page. It's free, so might as well, when we're done here, you can do it right now. So piece of cake.
And then the next two questions actually kind of involve the transcript. The NCAA says the student is supposed to upload their transcript at the end of sophomore year and again at the end of junior year. Why
Yep.
is this? And then because they're probably not certifying till senior year, right? And then the second question
Yeah.
around that is,
Yep.
does the high school just keep submitting it, or does the student have to take action?
So ideally, the high school should just submit it at the end of each year. So on the high school side, we'll have a list of all of our students that have registered with the NCAA. We don't necessarily see the level, because from our perspective, it's all the same. We're just uploading the transcript. Um, so at the end of each year, we will upload everybody that's registered, upload their transcript, and they typically some coaches may want to see an ongoing transcript, just to make sure that the student again is on track, and making the grade, that it's not somebody that they're going to have to worry about. Again, if I'm a coach, you're no good to me if you're academically redshirted and not eligible. I've put all this effort into you and now you can't play. So some of that is that they want to kind of follow academic progress as well as progress on the field. So,
Thank you.
good.
We're good.
All right. All right. So in terms of how to go about the college search process and all this. It on one hand, it is exactly the same as anybody's college search process, whether you're a student athlete or not. And it's exactly the same. And it's also nothing like it. So I know it's really weird, but it's all about fit. So when we talk about, where do you want to go to college? What do you want to study? Where do you envision yourself down the road a piece? It's really, where are you going to be the most comfortable? And to that, it's it also includes the size of campus, the class environment, the campus setting, how far away from home are you willing to travel? Maybe you want to go someplace warm. Um, but then also, what is that coach like? What is the fit for the coach? What is the fit for the program? What are the facilities like? Where are you going to be the happiest playing? Are you going to play? Um, are you, if you're a shooting guard and they just have, they recruited the 3 years in front of you, two other shooting guards, well, are you going to see the court anytime soon? Or is their shooting guard just about to graduate and you could be the next one in? So, all of those things need to kind of come into your head and question about, um, in terms of fit. How are you going to fit into the team as well as how are you going to fit onto the campus? Um, some other things to this slide. I think the rest of this is down at the very bottom of the screen, the editing of it. Some other things to think about is the responsibilities of the student athlete. A lot of coaches will do summer camps, for kids in the area. And they're staffed by people on the team. So what is your expectation of vacations? If you're playing basketball, I mean, that um, winter break is that's right in the middle of basketball season. You're not really going home for a long time. We talked earlier about the time commitment to the team. Well, it's real hard to maintain a full academic schedule in the middle of a football season of when you're in the middle of cross country season when you're running all over the place. Um, Maintaining a full academic schedule is tough. So how are you going to make up those classes and continue on progress towards graduation? So what are the responsibilities of you as the student athlete? Um, you know, if my, you know, if I have family members who play basketball, Division I basketball, and they're there all summer long, well into the off season, but that's because they're taking the classes that they weren't able to take during the season. So just, you know, the search is really how involved, and again, going back to the treating it like a full-time job, you know, are you ready, willing, and able to commit to it? I want to spend some time talking about contact and communication with coaches. And this is not, I know this is kind of going to be taken from the NCAA, but that's kind of the more prevalent. But some of these same rules apply at the NAIA conference as well. Keep in mind, there's going to be all of these terms. The terms will be universal, but dates are going to be all over the place as far as when coaches can contact you, just because each sport has a substantially different calendar. And so, you know, rules that apply to baseball, softball, golf, you know, are going to be a lot different, or the dates will be different from, you know, football, field hockey, you know, fall sports, cross country. So just be aware the dates are going to be substantially different. So in terms of just kind of, some of these slides are going to be more glossary things, just so that you hear and are aware of them. A contact is anytime a coach says more than hi to you. If they say, hi, how you doing? That's a contact. They're only allowed so many during the contact period. And that is, you know, those are set days. And again, each sport will have different calendar days of what constitutes a contact period. You can find those calendars if you just do a Google search or search on Eligibility Center or NCAA. Just Google search NCAA contact periods. You'll find the calendar for your sport. You know, coaches can call and write, you know, face-to-face contact, any of that stuff during the period, as opposed to a dead period where they may not speak to you. Okay, they cannot have any face-to-face communication with students, whether it's on campus, off campus, at a showcase, at your school. If they can come watch, but they cannot speak to you. Okay, so that's during a dead period. Any evaluation is, you know, when a coach comes to watch you play. You know, whether it's a showcase, a camp, a game, a practice, whatever it is, anytime somebody's coming to watch you, that's an evaluation. And again, there's a set evaluation period for each sport. Some sports will have longer periods for evaluation, just because of the nature of how the schedule goes. And, you know, so again, refer back to the NCAA website for the calendar dates. An official visit, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, anytime. An official visit is anytime that the school pays for the student. You know, meals, transportation for the student and 2 family members. Sometimes it can involve tickets to a game. So if you're being recruited for basketball, they can get you tickets to the game. You know, and this is really, these official visits are when you will absolutely need that NCAA ID. They will need that number to kind of, blank on the right term, register or log that they are meeting with you and you're on campus with during the official visit. No visits during the dead period. You can certainly go on your own, and an unofficial visit outside of, you know, or within those dead periods, that's on your dime. You can go. You may not speak with the coach or anything during a dead period, but you can certainly pay your own way and go visit campus on your own dime. And that's kind of on you. Okay. So that's really the difference between official and unofficial is who pays for it. Letter of intent. So you've got this far, you've visited schools, you met with the coaches, you know who you want to play for, and you're going to sign that letter of intent. This is a voluntary program, but treat it like a contract. Again, you're essentially registering, committing to the NCAA, to that school, and quite honestly, to all other schools that you're not going to play for them, that you're not going to play for the other schools. If so, consider it a contract. If after signing that letter of intent, you have a change of heart, you are committed to sitting out an academic year, 2 semesters, 3 quarters, whatever it is, and not playing anywhere else. If that school lets you out of that contract, that's between you and the school, but that's essentially what that letter is signing, that you are agreeing to play there, and attend school there. Okay. Some things to consider. Actually, let me pause. I know that's kind of the legal mumbo jumbo stuff. Julie, any questions on that stuff?
Not yet. Nope.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. Some things that want to talk about over the next few slides is, just, the grades, desire to play, the reality of the ability, and some of the issues with the transfer portal over the last few seasons. First off, with grades, and again, going back to the student advisor, or student athlete. When I was a few years ago now, number of years ago now, I was working Providence College, and just when UConn was, undefeated, season after season, undefeated national champs, and working with some of the women on the team after one of the games, and they're talking about, they got Sports Illustrated coming in tomorrow and ESPN doing a photo shoot, and they're like, well, what class do I have tomorrow? And I raised that not to say, gosh, these guys don't even know what class they have tomorrow. Absolutely not. Quite the opposite. They're so committed, and so much time and dedication is involved. They really need help in terms of just guiding through some of this. And that's where that academic advisor comes in. And this is where schools, and one of the things to ask when you're meeting with campus, when you meet with coaches, what are the supports that a school has for student athletes? Whether it's, mandatory study halls, team GPA checks, academic advisors, tutors. How are you, if you're going to be on the road for some of these, for games, and sometimes some long road trips, possibly, winter tournaments, things like that. What academic help are you getting while traveling? So just things to be aware that, odds are you're not going pro. So take care of the grades first. Just so something to just keep in mind when you're meeting with coaches. In terms of the reality of the ability and, again, desire to play, I just want to ask, make sure that I encourage parents here to really have that introspective into yourself. Who wants to play? I mean, as a parent myself of 3 student athletes, it's really cool to be on the sideline and say, well, my kid met with this coach, and this coach reached out to me, and we're looking at this place and that place, and it's really, it's kind of flattering and all that, but really, think of who really wants to play. Is it that you want your kid to play? Do I want my kid to play? Does the student really want to continue playing after high school? You know, we're not talking AAU tournaments here. This is big boy school. So think of whose desire it is to play and the reality of the ability. Are you really that good? You know, again, I've been on more sidelines where, you know, as parents, just think of, are they really that good to be a Division I athlete, to be a Division II athlete, to be a college student athlete? You know, just have that own self-thought as we're all going through this process. Some things to ask coaches, you know, when you're doing the tour, and meeting with them, you know, what's a typical day, weekly, year like? What's the off season like? You know, I've met with a number of students who, you know, want to go into to be a nursing major. I'll tell you what, nursing major and being a student athlete, you know, that's tough. Not impossible, certainly can be done, but just be aware of how you're going to get those hours in. You know, again, what kind of academic supports? You know, what's quite honestly, what's the housing? What's the meal plan like? You know, we're talking some major calories being taken in here. Um, sometimes it's cheaper to pay the food bill on campus than it is here at home. Um, you know, but what's the meal plan option like? You know, what are your graduating athletes? You know, are they at your position? Who are you recruiting others at my position? You know, what's that scene like? You know, what happens when the coach leaves? You know, if the coach gets a promote, you know, an opportunity to coach someplace else, what happens there? Um, and specifically towards that Division I level, um, you know, if that's where you're looking, how's the transfer portal playing out? For those that, you know, those that are not familiar, the transfer portal is an opportunity where instead of in the past, you had to sit out a season if you transferred from one school to another. Here you can enter the transfer portal and be picked up by another school, by another coach, essentially. Well, that's kind of wreaked havoc with coaches communicating effectively with high school students because, well, yeah, I've got, you know, you're a great high school kid, but we're competing for, you know, a conference title, a national title, and I can get an established player who's 3, 4, 5 years older, stronger. Um, you know, that's where I might be going. And you're left, well, what about me? So feel free to ask about how the transfer portal is affecting the team next season. Getting seen. I know this is really a big point question of how do you get noticed? Um, Going back to the NCAA ID, you're going to need that here. Um, there are a lot of different recruiting services. Um, you know, those are great, you know, Huddle, PBR, all of those programs that are out there to help the recruiting process. Um, you know, for the rest of us, you know, simple communication, email, phone call, most Division III tool two programs will have right on their website, interested in being a student athlete, fill out this form, and do that right there on the website and supply the information. Um, Keep it basic, keep it from the student athlete. Part of this is coaches want to know that, you know, somebody on the field, somebody can handle themselves, that they have the maturity, they have the responsibility, they have the leadership skills to send their own email and speak for themselves. If you can't at least do that, how am I going to know what kind of person you are on the court, on the field? So the student should really be leading the charge here. But send your name, height, weight, position play, your GPA, if you have SAT scores, if you want to share those, your head coach's name, both your high school, club, club coaches, teams, how they can get in touch with your coaches, when you're going to graduate, when you plan to enroll. If you're thinking of a post-grad year, you would be enrolling the following, depending on the nature of your situation. If you have any upcoming tournaments, my God, I would spend every summer up in Stowe, Vermont at lacrosse tournaments. Hey, we're going to be up in Stowe, we'll be at UMass. So any kind of upcoming games or tournaments to share. Just a quick word on the post-grad year, whether it's prep school, a 1-year PG year, or using the junior college as the opportunity for that. Sometimes it is a good opportunity to get a little stronger, to get a little faster, to get a little bigger, to get a little stronger grades, to get your GPA up. So just a quick point that might be an avenue to consider if all else doesn't play out. And let me pause there for questions. There we go. That was a lot of stuff real quick.
That's great. A lot of great info. All right, so we have a few questions. So the first one is, are NLIs strictly for D1, or do D2 and D3 have NLIs as well?
Contractually, D3 does not. I have heard D2. I haven't heard them being contractually used at D2, but mostly D1s. I know a lot of high schools will make a big deal of the photo op of signing the letter and stuff. Those are not necessarily contractual, and only about not every school, like 500 schools, use the letter of intent. Not every school uses it. But yeah, mostly D1s.
That's great. And then someone's asking about, why did the transfer portal come about because of the pandemic and students missing a year of eligibility? And if that's the case, do you think the transfer portal will go away at some point?
This is where the business comes into play. This is where the business of college athletics, and name, image, and likeness and everything is coming into it. I don't think it really came about because of I think that was more a convenience that it came about because of the pandemic timing. That's how I understand. I don't think it's going to go away. I think there's too much money involved. Yeah. In terms of Division I sports, it's a monster. Which also, I have just within my own family. I mean, I've got kids and family members at, everything from, Division III, sports schools, Division II national championship schools, and club at Division I, and then also at Big Ten basketball. It's an interesting environment, regardless of the division, regardless of the region, regardless of the sport itself, whether it's basketball, lacrosse, field hockey, track, cross country, everything. It's one of those things, like, take your time, be patient, one thing to also, I forgot to mention earlier, coaches cannot admit you to the university. I've had more conversations with parents, the coach promise, coach is offering a spot on the team and coach is offering this and offering that. Coach can't do jack squat. They cannot admit you to the university. The admissions office can. Now, a coach can have a preferred recruit, but it's the admissions office that will admit you to the university. So every time I hear somebody say a coach got me into the school, no, they put in a good word for you. So how that doubles back to the transfer portal question, um, monetarily, college athletics is a beast. So when you're going through this process, take your time, be patient, ask questions. Um, every campus, every college campus will have a compliance officer. So if there are any questions there, as far as eligibility and, what you can and cannot do, the compliance officer will maintain the integrity of the process, but then also rely on your school's um, athletic athletic director, um, guidance office to maintain the integrity of the program from your side as well.
And someone asked, is there a transfer portal for D3?
No, no.
Yeah. And then where do you recommend students get seen?
So if you are if you're a average student athlete, depending on the sport, coming from, those tournaments, showcases are always, good thing. Coaches always go to those. Um, but really sending that email, communication to a coach, let them know where you're going to be, or if it's a school that you are really interested in, which really should be, ideally, that would be directing the search, is where do you want to go? And let the chips fall where they may, whether or not you can play there or not. But if you have a school in mind that you really want to go there, share that with the school, with the coach, and find out from them, what tournaments are you going to go watch? And again, depending on the sport, it's not like you can sign your team up to go play a tournament someplace. But if sometimes there are if you're playing tennis, you're playing golf, if it's an individual sport, sometimes you can get into that tournament. A track meet, sending in your times. Track and cross country are sometimes some of the easier ones, just because the clock doesn't lie. So you can send in your times. But really reaching out to the coach to see where they're going to be to get seen.
And then why do students intending to play D3 need to create an NCAA account? Do they just need the ID number?
They need the ID number. Again, it's just kind of some of the formality of some of this, so that if you have the ID number, the coach will then share it with the NCAA. There's stuff that they have to do on the back end on their side. The compliance officer needs to just register that they've got these recruits coming in, to check some of the transcript if there's a question.
And can a D3 school, well, the assumption here is that they can't, but they don't do official visits where they pay for a player to visit, correct?
No. Usually they don't have the money for that.
Yeah.
No, but they would certainly ask and make it attractive, hey, come in and we'll take you out to a game or something.
Yeah.
You can come watch us play and see, have you on the sideline and preferential seats at a game or something.
And then how do you know if an athlete is good enough for Division I, II, or III?
Um, how do you know? If you're a Division I athlete, you, it's kind of like the eyeball test, but it's somebody else's eyeball. As parents, it's real easy for us to sit back and say, yeah, my kid's really great. But when they're Division I, yeah, there's something different about that. There's just something different about a D1 athlete. They're just better.
Yep.
You know, they're just bigger, better, faster. Um,
But then would you say there's a little more fluidity between Division II and Division III?
yeah, actually, I mean, quite honestly, there's fluidity between all of them because I mean, I can use University of Tampa as a example. I mean, U Tampa is a Division II school with incredible resources on campus. I mean, they're national champion lacrosse. They're putting kids into the Major League Baseball draft year after year. The facilities rival Division I programs. I mean, what they have going on there, and I don't mean to pinpoint and spotlight Tampa because these schools exist all over the place. I'm just familiar with them. But those schools exist all over the place. And the same thing from Division III. Um, I mean, my alma mater, St. John Fisher, small little place nobody's ever heard of around here. Well, they host the Buffalo Bills training camp. I mean, the facilities for their football in Division III. Um, so just because a school is one, two, or three doesn't mean that, one's better than the other because you can have Division III programs with state-of-the-art facilities, and literally Hall of Fame coaches and players. Adam Vinatieri came from a D2 school. Um, so it is fluid between the three.
What do you do if a college coach who is notorious for poor communication doesn't respond to your high school athlete's email?
Assume you're not going to school there. I mean, if a coach isn't getting back to you, that's bad on them. But honestly, they might not be getting back to you because they don't need you.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I used the example earlier, if you're a point guard and you're telling the coach I'm a point guard, well, geez, we've got 4 point guards in the freshman class, another one in the two more in the sophomore, and we have already talked to 7 other high school seniors. We don't need you. Sorry. It's not that you're unwanted, it's just that we can't use another point guard.
Yep.
Um, and I mean, it'd be nice to say that, maybe not so blunt, but but sometimes coaches don't answer the question or answer the emails quickly.
Yeah. And now, what if your student plays on a high school team that is not doing well?
um, demonstrate your leadership. Demonstrate your leadership. It's not you're going to be each year is a new team. Students graduate and freshmen come up, um, and and the same will be when you get to the college level. You're going to be that. It's going to be a new team. It's going to be a new team for them too because you're now on the team. But it's an opportunity um, to showcase you understand the game. I've seen some I've seen some bad teams with good players, and that good player isn't staying in position and is running all over the field and out of position. So you have a center halfback, and they're all the way up and all, they're just all over the field. Well, actually, that's a bad example because they should be all over the field. Um,
Mhm.
but play the game the right way and you'll get noticed. Don't try to overcompensate. Um, you know, be a leader, play the game the right way. And that will be seen when you're sending in the video. That will be seen, whether you're in position or not.
Well, we came to the end of our questions. I'll give
Okay.
people another moment if you have another question. But that was so much great information, Mike. Thank you so
You
much.
bet. You
And
bet.
thank you all for all of your questions. Those were good ones too. And I don't see any more. So I think
All right.
we will say everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much.
Are we clear?
We're good.